Have you ever noticed how kids these days seem glued to screens, almost as if they've forgotten how to play the old-fashioned way? Maybe you've seen it with your grandkids. You try to show them a game from your own childhood, and they look at you like you just stepped off a spaceship. It's easy to feel a little disconnected, maybe even a bit unsure of how to really engage with them in a way that feels meaningful. But here's the good news: you don't need to compete with screens to make a big difference in a child's development. In fact, some of the most powerful things you can do with your grandchild, things that actually help build their motor skills, require no screens at all. Just a little time, some creativity, and a warm heart. If you've ever thought to yourself, I want to help my grandchild grow, but I don't know where to start, you're not alone. Many of us grew up in a time when play meant running outside until the streetlights came on, not tapping away at a tablet. And while the world has changed, the importance of helping children build strong, healthy bodies and minds hasn't. That's why today, we're talking about 6 fun, simple activities you can do with your child or grandchild that boost their motor skills, without a single screen involved. Now, when we talk about motor skills, we're referring to the ability to move and control the body. These are split into 2 main types: gross motor skills, which involve big movements like running and jumping, and fine motor skills, which are all about smaller, more precise tasks like picking up a pencil or buttoning a shirt. Both types are essential for a child's physical development, confidence, and even their learning in school. And the best part? You don't need fancy equipment or a playground to help your child grow these abilities. You just need to be present, patient, and a little playful. Let's start with something simple, but incredibly effective: dancing together. Yes, dancing. Turn on some music, not children's music unless they love it, but maybe something from your generation. A little Elvis, the Supremes, or even some Motown, something with a good beat. Invite your grandchild to dance with you in the living room. They may be shy at first, especially if they're more used to solo play or screen time, but once you get moving, it's hard not to join in. Dancing improves coordination, balance, and spatial awareness, all key parts of gross motor development. It also teaches rhythm, timing, and how to move different parts of the body in sync. And let's not forget, it's a wonderful way to connect across generations. You're not just building motor skills, you're building memories. Don't worry about looking silly. In fact, the sillier, the better. Children love seeing adults be playful. Try adding in little challenges like hopping on one foot, clapping to the beat, or mirroring each other's moves. You'll both be smiling, moving, and creating a shared language of movement that no screen could ever replace. Another beautiful way to strengthen motor skills while keeping that connection strong is through playing with clay or homemade dough. If you've never made your own dough before, it's surprisingly easy: just some flour, salt, and water. You can even add food coloring or a little bit of essential oil for scent. Once you've got your dough ready, sit down together at the table and start sculpting. Now this might seem like simple fun, and it is, but there's a lot going on under the surface. Rolling, squishing, pinching, and molding the dough all help strengthen the small muscles in the hands and fingers. These are the muscles that kids need for writing, tying shoes, using scissors, all the everyday skills that make them feel independent and capable. You can shape animals, pretend food, even little story characters. If your grandchild is a bit older, you can add a twist by creating a theme, like building a mini garden or making a tiny bakery together. And don't worry if it all ends up looking like a pile of blobs. This isn't about perfection. It's about process. It's about sitting side by side, talking, laughing, and letting their hands and imagination work together. That kind of open-ended play is not only great for motor skills, it's a powerful tool for emotional development too. Now, I know not every child is naturally drawn to crafts or dancing. Some kids have energy bursting out of them the moment they wake up. If you're nodding your head, thinking of a grandchild who can't sit still for more than 2 minutes, you're going to love this next one: simple obstacle courses. You don't need a fancy setup. A living room, a few couch cushions, some rolled-up socks, and maybe a couple of chairs are all you need. Think of it like this: what if your home could turn into a little adventure land? You can have them crawl under the table, hop over a pillow, balance along a line of tape on the floor, then toss a beanbag into a basket. The key is to make it playful and challenging, without being too hard. Let them take turns, time each other, or even create their own version. And here's the magic: while they think they're just having fun, they're actually improving balance, coordination, strength, and problem solving. You might even find that once they get into it, they'll start inventing their own challenges. That's something we forget. Kids don't always need us to entertain them. Sometimes, they just need a little spark. And obstacle courses, with their mix of movement and imagination, provide just that. Plus, it gives you a chance to cheer them on, to be their biggest supporter, to say, "Wow, look how fast you are." And believe me, those words mean more than you know. Now that we've covered some creative movement and hands-on play, let's keep that momentum going. Let's keep that momentum going with something that might surprise you: gardening. Now, you might not think of gardening as a typical way to help a child develop motor skills, but it's actually one of the most underrated activities for that very purpose. And the best part? You don't need a big yard or fancy tools. A few pots on the porch, a raised bed, or even just a couple of containers by the window can do the trick. Think about what happens when a child helps plant something. They're scooping soil, digging small holes, placing seeds, and gently covering them up. Those are all fine motor movements. Then there's the watering, the pulling of weeds, even carrying small tools or pots. That's gross motor work. All of it builds strength, coordination, and focus. But beyond the physical benefits, gardening is also about patience, responsibility, and wonder. There's nothing quite like seeing a child's face when they realize the tiny seed they planted has actually sprouted. It's a powerful reminder that effort leads to results, and that nature has its own quiet magic. You can teach them how to measure out water, how to notice when a plant needs more sun or less water. All the while, they're learning to pay attention, to care, and to be gentle. And let's be honest, getting your hands a little dirty can be therapeutic at any age. You're not just growing plants together. You're growing trust, confidence, and that beautiful sense of shared discovery. Even if you don't consider yourself a gardener, give it a try. Start with herbs, or something fast-growing like radishes or lettuce. You might be surprised how much joy it brings you both. Now, for a bit of a throwback, do you remember playing games like Simon Says or Red Light, Green Light? Those old-school games might seem simple, but they're incredible for developing motor control and listening skills. They're easy to set up, require no special equipment, and can be played almost anywhere, even inside on a rainy day. Let's take Simon Says as an example. You give a command like Simon says touch your toes, and they do it. But if you say touch your nose without saying Simon says, and they do it anyway, they're out. Sounds like fun, right? But what's really happening is they're practicing something very important: inhibition control. That's the brain's ability to stop itself before acting, which is essential for learning and behavior. They're also improving their ability to follow instructions, move their body in specific ways, and stay focused, all critical skills for both fine and gross motor development. And here's the beauty of it: you're right there, playing with them. You're not watching from the sidelines. You're joining in, laughing when you make a mistake, letting them see that it's okay to be silly. That kind of active, joyful play is something kids remember. It builds a connection that no amount of screen time can replace. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present. Another lovely activity that supports fine motor skills and creativity is simple crafting with household items. You don't need to run out and buy expensive art kits. Paper, scissors, glue, a few buttons, some string, maybe even some old magazines, these are more than enough to get started. You can make greeting cards, create animals out of paper rolls, or design your own puzzles. Cutting, folding, gluing, these all require precision and coordination. As your grandchild works through these small movements, they're building up the very muscles they'll use for handwriting and everyday tasks. You can make it even more meaningful by tying it to something they care about. Maybe they make a card for a neighbor or decorate a box to store their treasures. If they love animals, help them make a zoo out of cardboard and paper. Let their interests guide the project. The important part isn't the final product, it's the process. It's sitting at the table together, sharing ideas, solving little problems like how do I get this to stick, or what can I use for the tail? It's the chatter, the little jokes, the quiet moments of focus. That's where the real magic happens. And if your hands aren't as nimble as they used to be, that's okay too. Your role isn't to do everything for them, it's to guide, support, and share the experience. Even if your fingers don't move quite as quickly anymore, your presence, your encouragement, and your stories add something irreplaceable. Maybe you tell them about a time you made something as a child, or show them how you used to fold paper boats. It's those little stories that turn an afternoon of crafting into a lifelong memory. You might be wondering, what if my grandchild doesn't seem interested in these kinds of activities? That's completely normal. Not every child will be excited about every idea. But the key is to keep trying, to offer a variety of experiences, and to really tune into what sparks their curiosity. The more you explore together, the more likely you are to find something that clicks. Children are naturally curious, but sometimes that curiosity gets buried under passive entertainment. When you open the door to hands-on, movement-based play, you give them the chance to rediscover that joy. And you get to rediscover it too. There's something truly special about watching a child light up when they figure something out, when they feel their own strength or creativity. And knowing you had a hand in that, it's a kind of fulfillment that's hard to put into words. Let's keep that spark alive as we explore one more playful way to build motor skills and make meaningful memories. One more playful way to build motor skills and make meaningful memories is through something wonderfully old-fashioned and deeply engaging, cooking together. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Letting a child loose in the kitchen sounds like a recipe for a mess, and you'd be absolutely right. But it's also a recipe for growth, connection, and some pretty amazing learning, too. Cooking is packed with opportunities for developing fine motor skills. Think about it: stirring, measuring, pouring, cracking eggs, kneading dough, even peeling a banana or tearing lettuce. Each of these actions builds strength and coordination in the hands and fingers. For younger kids, even just washing vegetables or mixing batter with a spoon can be a great activity. And for older children, reading a recipe together and learning to follow steps in order adds a wonderful layer of cognitive development too. Now, it doesn't have to be a gourmet meal. Start small. Maybe you bake a batch of cookies, make homemade pizza, or put together a fruit salad. Let them take the lead wherever they can. Yes, it might take a little longer. Yes, you might have flour on the floor and sticky fingers on the counter. But that's part of the joy. That's part of the memory. And while you're cooking, talk to them. Ask them about their day. Tell them stories about recipes from your own childhood, maybe how your grandmother made jam or how your dad used to flip pancakes like a pro. These stories don't just pass on knowledge, they pass on a sense of heritage and love. You're showing them that food is more than something we eat, it's something we share. And that lesson will stick with them far longer than the recipe itself. Cooking also encourages responsibility. When a child helps make something, they're often more willing to try new foods, to feel pride in their work, and to clean up after themselves, well, with a little encouragement, of course. And seeing their face light up when they taste something they helped create? That's the kind of moment that stays with you. By now, you've probably noticed a common thread running through all these activities. It's not just about movement or muscle development, it's about connection. Real, meaningful connection between you and the child. Whether you're dancing in the living room, digging in the dirt, or giggling over a gooey batch of cookie dough, what you're really doing is building a relationship. And that relationship, more than any toy or gadget, is what helps children thrive. So often these days, we hear about how hard it is to connect with kids, especially when technology seems to dominate their attention. But you don't need to be an expert in apps or own the latest tablet to make an impact. You just need to be present. Kids are naturally drawn to love, to curiosity, to play. And when you offer that to them in a simple, grounded way, they respond. Even if it doesn't happen instantly, it builds over time. Every silly dance move, every crooked craft, every messy muffin, these are the threads that weave a bond between you. And let me tell you something important, you matter. Your presence matters. Whether you're a grandparent, a caregiver, or a loving neighbor, the time you spend with a child has the power to shape how they see the world and how they see themselves. When you encourage them, play with them, guide them through new experiences, you're helping them grow in ways that go far beyond physical coordination. You're giving them the gift of self-belief. So as we wrap up, let's take a breath and remember what this is really all about. It's not about getting every movement perfect. It's not about finishing a craft that looks like something from a magazine. It's about doing things together. It's about laughing when the clay sculpture collapses or when flour ends up on your nose. It's about showing up with patience, love, and just enough structure to let a child explore safely. And even more than that, it's about embracing the idea that your role in a child's life doesn't have to revolve around screens or flashy toys. Your stories, your time, your gentle guidance, those are the tools that build not only motor skills, but resilience, creativity, and joy. So go ahead, turn off the TV, set the tablet aside, and roll up your sleeves. Try one of these activities this week. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just pick one. Invite your grandchild to dance, to dig in the dirt, to glue googly eyes on a paper creature, or stir up something sweet. And watch what happens. Because when a child feels your attention, your laughter, your encouragement, it sparks something far greater than anything a screen can offer. It reminds them that they are capable, they are seen, and they are deeply loved. If you found this video helpful or if it brought back memories of your own childhood, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Maybe share a favorite activity you used to do as a child, or one you now do with your grandkids. Your story could inspire someone else watching. And if you enjoyed this kind of content, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We've got more simple, joyful ways to help you stay connected, engaged, and living your best life at any age. Thank you for being here, and for all the love and care you bring into the world. Here's to building strong little bodies, happy hearts, and beautiful memories, one joyful moment at a time.